Lesson 4, I will identify, define, and draw parallel lines. So identify parallel lines means that you will be able to find parallel lines. Define means you know what parallel lines are, and obviously you know what it means to draw them. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our problem set today. So go ahead and put your name at the top, and you're going to see that we are going to be tracing what appears to be some parallel lines, okay? So go ahead and get your journal, or excuse me, not journal, but go ahead and get your problem set, write your name on it. And I'm going to use a highlighter so that you can see it. You can use a highlighter or you can just use a pencil, doesn't matter. All right, so let's take a look at some of these objects. I'm going to do the first one with you, and then I want you to go ahead and take a look at the rest and see if you can't find some by yourself, okay? So in this musical note, these two notes appear to have parallel line segments. Pause the video and see if you can find at least one pair of parallel line segments in all of these other objects, and then come back and see if we found the same ones. Okay, now I'm looking at this piano, and there's tons of parallel line segments. All of these vertical lines are parallel. These keys are parallel. The top is parallel to the bottom. Lots of parallel lines. The same thing with this brick wall. This side is parallel to this side. The top is parallel to this line. The top is parallel to the bottom. All of these bricks are parallel to one another. Same thing with this piece of paper. All of these line segments are parallel to one another. The sides are parallel to each other. Anywhere that you see two lines that are perfectly straight. Now the clock was a little bit different. When I was looking at it, it was kind of hard to find some parallel line segments because you see all these circles. But when I looked up here, I'm going to have to make this line a little bit finer. But when I looked right here, this appears to be parallel to this. And when I looked, I really didn't see any other lines that were perfectly parallel. Okay, now this looks like a silhouette of a castle or something, but this would be parallel to this, and this is parallel to this, and this. These are all parallel to each other. You could also have said these lines that are going horizontal are parallel. Now in this figure, I only see one set of parallel sides or lines. I see the top is parallel to the bottom. Now in the ruler, the top is parallel to the bottom. The sides are parallel, and all of these little line segments are parallel to each other. So lots of lines are parallel, just like lots of lines are perpendicular, especially when you're talking about common objects. And when you think about that, when people make things, they want them to look perfect. And if you want them to look perfect, you would want them to be created with parallel lines and perpendicular lines. It would look weird if your house didn't have perpendicular lines. You know, a house should have nice straight corners. Well, if your house didn't, it would look like it was about to fall over. So just think if your house was made like this. It's the same thing whenever you build other things. That's why lots of objects that are made by people have parallel and perpendicular lines, because they're formed with a lot of right angles. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. How do you know if two lines are parallel? Take a minute and write what you think, and then come back and see if you wrote something similar. You may not write the exact same thing that I wrote, and that's okay. Okay. Two lines are parallel if they never cross. That's how I know if they're parallel. All right, so in the square and triangular grids below, it says use the given segments in each grid to draw a line that's parallel using a straight edge. So all you have to do is take your ruler and draw some line segments that are parallel to these. Now you can use the grid paper. Like for example, I can see that this one starts in this corner and goes all the way until it goes to this other corner. So if I start right here, 2 boxes over, and I start in the corner, and I go, let me get my line here, disappeared on me. If I start in this corner, and I go all the way to this corner, which is 2 boxes over, I know that it has to be parallel. I started 2 boxes over and I ended 2 boxes over. Okay, same way with this. See how this one starts here and ends here? I could do the same thing here. I'm going to start it in this corner. Oops, I lost my line again. I'm going to start it in this corner and I'm going to end it in this corner. And I know that they're parallel. All right, now I can do the same thing here. I can start it in the same position as this one and end it in the same position, and I know they're parallel. And then here I can start in this corner and end in this corner. So you can use your grid graph paper to help you make parallel lines. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this. We have done this same type of activity with perpendicular lines as well. I want you to notice the symbols. When you found perpendicular lines, they were formed in right angles. So right angles had the little right angle symbol. Now I want you to look at what the symbol is for parallel lines. It's these arrows that are going in the same direction. Now the directions say we're going to determine which of the following figures have parallel lines by using a straight edge and the right angle template that you created. We haven't been using that right angle template because I think that's a little bit confusing, so we've kind of skipped that part. Circle a letter of the shapes that have at least one pair of parallel lines. Mark each pair of parallel lines with arrows, and then identify the parallel lines with a statement modeled after the one in 4A. So they have done part of this one for us. They circled A because it does have parallel lines, and they put these arrows to show that this line segment is parallel to this line segment, and this is the statement that they wrote. But when I look at this, they didn't do all of them because this line segment, oh, I need to get it off the highlighter. All right, this line segment is not this line segment is parallel to this line segment. So over here, I'm going to write line segment AC, and this is what you write when you say that it's parallel. Remember, the perpendicular symbol looked like this. The parallel symbol looks like this. It's parallel to BD. So this is a statement, even though it doesn't look like a sentence, but when you read it, it is a sentence. So you think about this. Line segment AC is parallel to line segment BD. But look at how much shorter it is to just write it that way. All right, so let's look at B. Do you see any parallel line segments in B? If you do, go ahead and circle it. Well, hopefully you chose to circle it. Now I want you to draw arrows on the two line segments that you think are parallel to one another. You should have drawn a lines or arrows on this line segment and this line segment. So you would write line segment HI is parallel to line segment JK. And remember, line segments can be named either way. So you could have said line segment IH is parallel to KJ, and that would have been correct. All right, I want you to go ahead and try to do C and D by yourself and then come back. All right, so could you find any parallel lines in object C? I couldn't, so I'm not going to circle it. Could you find any line segments in shape D? Me either. So we really didn't have to do anything to those shapes. All right, let's take a look at these. Try to do E, F, G, and H by yourself and then come back and see if you got the same thing. If you left any out, you can always add 2. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and circle figure E because I do see some parallel line segments. This line segment is parallel to this line segment, and this line segment is parallel to this line segment. So I'm going to say line segment ZA is parallel to line segment FW, and line segment ZF is parallel to line segment AW. Now when I look at this triangle, it has no parallel lines, so I didn't have to do anything to that. But I do see some parallel lines in this object. I see several. I see this is parallel to this. I see this line segment is parallel to this line segment, and this line segment is parallel to this line segment. So I would say line segment TO is parallel to line segment RQ. Line segment OP is parallel to line segment SR. I would say line segment ST is parallel to line segment PQ. Okay, H. Not a ton of parallel line segments, but I did see one pair. I saw this line segment is parallel to this line segment. So you would say YX is parallel to VW.